Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. We're back here doing another live webinar that you might see later, recording time later. And I'm going to discuss about wholesaling and how to benefit from it, how you can do it. Also touch a little bit on how you can do it virtually now. I partner with Mark Pellets, and we were holding live 3-day events, and now we're trying to figure out how we can hold virtual events to where everyone can still do what they like to do and get involved with real estate as they're going. And moving forward, a lot of stuff in the world is going to possibly start changing to virtual. So let's get started on this. Is the introduction to wholesaling. And to me, the art of the wholesaling is the art of consistently finding deeply discounted properties off market. My mentor Tom Kroll taught me that, and since then I've been able to grow a nice little wholesaling business, and from there I've expanded into other areas. I've done many rehabs over the years. Currently still doing rehabs, but at the end of the day, I still much rather wholesale the property and be done with it and move on to the next. So I'll go into a little bit more on myself. And this is the 3-day events that we hold. Think and Profit Like a Real Estate Investor. Myself, I've been in the business since 2003. My partner Mark has been in the business since a very long time, almost 40 years now. So between the both of us, we have all different types of knowledge, and some stuff's still old school, some stuff's, what's going on today. I started by accident with vacant land back in 2003. Since then, I grew into, I guess now, but back then looking at it, it's a wholesaling business. But back then I didn't realize it was a wholesaling business until now. But back in 2003, I did a few of my own lots. I bought them for myself as personal use, and from that, I decided we weren't going to move to that area of town, and I sold the lots online before the internet actually really got popular. And from then I did well over 250 lots throughout the state of Florida. In 2005 I got into single family housing just as the market started to turn. So I felt the buyers backing off of vacant land, decided to do rehabs or get into single family homes to do rehabs, and I also did wholesaling of the single family homes from that. But in the prior experience, I had rehabs on my personal houses as well. So that kind of gave me the upper side of knowing the knowledge of rehabbing. Since then, once the market crashed, I kind of backed out and got into REO preservation. When the market started to change a little bit in 2011, I got back in with a partner doing rehabs, and we did over 150 homes since 2011. Since 2015, I've wholesaled well over 150 homes. And in 2017, my company did $2.3 million in transactions on just wholesale. In 2018, it was $3.5 million. And in 2019, we wholesaled 43 properties, primarily all Sarasota, Manatee County, a little bit in Charlotte, and a little bit in Hillsborough and Pinellas. But there's plenty of houses right here in Sarasota, Manatee County for everyone to have. I own a few different businesses. One is a tax accounting business my sister runs in Tampa. Right now, we're still acquiring rental properties and partnering with others on deals. Maybe you have a deal that you can't move, or you are new, and you don't have your buyers built, so we actually help you with that. Now I spend a lot of time teaching and mentoring new investors on how to make money in real estate. I don't work 40 hours a week. I probably work a little bit more, but I enjoy what I do. So some days I get to do mostly what I want, and then some days I get to do what I like to do, and that's help other people learn about real estate and make money in real estate. So there's two types of marketing that I use, and one is primarily my bread and butter. But the two types of marketing is, one is a broad marketing, which is going to go to bandit signs, T-shirts, car magnets, flyers in public places, newspapers, ads on Facebook, ads online, ads on Craigslist. Basically, those are broad because you have no clue who's reaching out to you. You have no clue who you're actually touching or hitting. So you really have no clue what's coming in, and you're hoping that they have equity in the house to be able to sell the property, or it's free and clear to be able to do the transaction. My favorite type of marketing would be targeted marketing, which is what we will be talking more about here, and that's more of direct mail, or even if you did online marketing, you can also do cold calling with it, but it's targeted lists of people that have properties that have equity, and we already know as soon as we engage with them, they have equity. So that way we know that we can do a transaction with them. So these are the types of deals that you're really looking for. And primarily, there's other ones out there, but these are pretty much what you really want to focus in on. The probate, inherited, the divorce, evictions, high equity is going to be your main source because it's just a larger database. And then driving for dollars, you'll have tax delinquents. Pre-foreclosures are going to start to come back now, but for the last 5 or 6 years, we haven't really pushed too many foreclosures just because the market was in a different cycle. Also, short sales are going to start coming back as well, and you'll start seeing more foreclosures over the next few years. You'll also see free and clear properties now and before, and you'll see them coming in the future as well because, as time goes on, the mortgage will get paid off. Absentee owner, everyone talks about, but here in the market we're at in Florida, absentee owners don't really work that well because we have a huge influx of snowbirds. So depending on what area of the world you're in, absentee owners might be perfect and absentee owners might not be. I know primarily in Southwest Florida, absentee owners are harder to work with because there's a huge influx of snowbirds where, they come and use the property 6 months out of the year and then go back to the winter home or summer home during the summer. So most of the time, if that's the case, they don't really want to sell because it's just it's not the primary house. And then also for sale by owners. For sale by owners is more or less your targeted market. They might not be selling the house, or they might be interested in looking for an offer, but at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, is basically a direct homeowner seller that's going to sell the house. So that's pretty much what you're going to be looking for as you're doing this journey. I started a company called LeadX, in that we can provide lists for you targeted to what you're looking for. From that, this will actually start building your sellers and lists to grow. This is going to primarily be your high equity list, but we also have other lists that we can help you work on getting. Typically, these start at 12 cents a lead, and with our discount, if you come to LeadX, you can buy them for 8 cents a lead. And that way you can actually get true high equity leads that are good quality, that aren't just random stuff. Pretty much I take the demographics of what I kind of use in my market, and I can cater it to any part of the world. I've sold lists to people in Dallas, Texas, Seattle, Washington, big markets, and they've all done very well with these lists. So it's great data that you have access to, and it's also at a discount. So it doesn't seem like a huge discount, but 4 cents a lead and you're buying 10,000 or more at a time, that's a nice chunk of money that you're saving. Also, anyone can go pull their own list, but when you don't have the exact demographics on what you're looking for and how to pull it or where to even go, it's going to be a huge problem when you're trying to do target marketing, because there's certain price points of houses that you're not going to touch in your market, and you're going to want to focus on different price points depending on what your market's calling for. Also with LeadX, we also have CRMs that you can have access to for free, and we also have some that are upgraded ones that you can have the bells and whistles depending on what stage of your business is in. If you're doing 3 to 5 deals a month, I'd push you to get the ones that have all the bells and whistles. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save your employees a lot of time, because a lot of stuff's automated, and it also will start being able to send contracts to your CRM electronically, and then push everything out depending on what setup you run with, but push it to, so if you get a signed seller contract through DocuSign, you will be able to send that back over to the title company. You'll also be able to send your assignments out to your buyers as you're moving forward. And with everything that's going virtual now in Florida, luckily right before the whole lockdown happened, it came out great, because now even closing docs to sign up to finalize the closing are all legal documents, and they're all electronic. So it's going to be the way of the future as well. I believe I touched everything on that. So also we have some other web programs that we'll touch over here in a little bit, but this is how you can get access to leads and lists and all that. It's in the beginning. Let me touch back on this one right here. Driving for dollars is probably my favorite list, just because any list that you buy does not tell you if the house is in disrepair or needs work. From that point, you won't be able to create, thousands of these leads, so you're still going to want to have your high equity involved as well as your base. But you could easily produce 200 to 400 leads on driving for dollars a week. I don't care what market you're in, what area. I've had people tell me they can't find them even in the $1 million plus neighborhoods, and I guarantee if you put me out there, I will find a few a day. I can promise you that. So moving forward, if you need hierarchy leads or any other type of list, you can always reach out to us on that, and we can help you pull those lists as well. And if you need a free CRM, you can reach out and we can have a full CRM set up for you in about 24 hours, and it's all free. And then after you hit a certain amount, probably about 3 to 6 months, depending on how much you're using it and how much is being going into it, you might get a small fee, but it's anywhere from $9 to $15 a month. So these are some of the systems that we use. PropStream, I highly recommend if you're not an agent. If you are an agent, this is still going to give you some benefits, as this has nationwide data and also has mailing lists in there. It has different types of lists. It also works on your specialty list, and also you can skip trace out of PropStream. And skip tracing data in there is phenomenal. My cold calling team actually uses all of the PropStream data, and they're able to produce at least 4 contracts a month from the from the cold call side. And then LeadX again, high equity. We have the discounted list, and we also have specialty lists. And probate, anyone that's in Florida has access to this home. It's on floridapublicnotices.com. The site is a little tricky. You got to be careful on your search parameters. You can't go over 30-day searches or it kicks the algorithm out. But as long as you keep your searches under 30 days, you're fine. And I believe this would be a nationwide place to get your tax delinquents, but it's going to be with the county tax collectors typically. Some places will tell you they don't have such a record or a list. I can promise you the harder the list is to get, the more people won't touch it. And if you can get that list, it's going to be more profitable for you. So, and I know in our market, the list starts out at about 20-something thousand records. And by the time I have it done for my specific criteria, I'm only looking for single family homes out of there. But in our market, you have single family, you have mobile home, vacant land, commercial. And there's something else mixed in there, but I'm only primarily targeting single family homes at the moment. So by the time that list gets to me, I'm anywhere between 12 to 1,400 records. So it's a small list, but very good quality list. And most people don't do that list because it's a harder list to come by, just because it takes a little more work. So the harder the list to get, the harder it takes to get, the more profitable they usually are. Evictions, some counties will have this online, and some counties you'll have to go down to the actual courthouse and pull the records. Like for instance, Sarasota County is not online, but Manatee County is. So it's just going to depend on your record or your county. And then getting into code violations, you're going to have code violations are typically with the building department of that county. I know Sarasota County is the building department online. You might have to call the county record office to have them walk you through how to look them up. They're a little tricky on how some of these put them in there, but they are on there. And you're looking for high grass, derelict cars and stuff like that, or someone that's been flagged on different code violations, and then that's who you want to target on those. Driver for dollars, again, that's a list you're going to do yourself, and there's multiple ways to do it. I like to either pin it on the map. Some people use Zillow to pin it on there, or some people will take it and write it down on a notepad. And from that point, you can do it yourself or have a VA do it, or your secretary. But any type of process you're trying to do in your business, you're going to have to do it yourself to figure it out to be able to train someone else to do it. So it's not hard. It's just time consuming. You're going to cross-reference the address to the Sarasota County, or for instance, Sarasota County property appraiser site. You're going to find out what their mailing address is and what the CDIS address is. The CDIS address is the property that we're trying to target. And if it's 2 different addresses, that means they have 2 houses. One's not the mailing address, and one is the mailing address. We want to send the letter to the mailing address, not to the CDIS address if it's not the same. And that way, if it's a rental property, the tenant's not getting a letter, and the actual homeowner's getting a letter, so the tenant doesn't throw it away. If that makes sense.
One thing I want to add real quick before we move on, PropStream is similar to the MLS. It is national database, so you can actually pull records from, I believe it's 98% of the country right now. You can use it to find cash buyers. You can use it to find pre-foreclosures. One really unique thing about PropStream that is different than the MLS is it pulls from the MLS information, but it also pulls from the county records. So you'll have access to those off-market deals and those cash transactions that some realtors and agents are not seeing on the MLS traditionally. So it is a great resource, and the fact that you don't have to go join all these different boards like you do with the Realtor Association and things makes it a benefit. And it offers you the same things. It's updated, I believe, every 24 hours at midnight. So it's not like you're even that far behind on your time. It's got the same information, and they'll actually do a lot of calculations for it because it is designed and developed by investors. It is extremely investor friendly. And they're working on pushing out and creating new things and ways that they work constantly. So it's actually even a little bit easier to use PropStream to find cash buyers because they call them cash buyers, investors. They'll label them as flippers or landlords. So those tags are already in there that you can easily pull out and find when you are looking for those type of buyers when you're moving a contract.
Yeah, it's nice when I go to an appointment. I use the MLS primarily, but also with PropStream, I can pull the ones that have sold to another investor that's not through the MLS. So that is a nice extra feature that the MLS does not provide. So here's some of the pieces of mail that I personally use. I actually have another one that I should have put on here, but I didn't. It's a new one for COVID-19. But so pretty much the one that says urgent notice, house is wanted, that's going to be more for a tax delinquent lead, or maybe a code violation, or something that's a little more official that you know that person has had notifications or foreclosure or something like that that's pending, and that way you try and get them to respond as soon as possible. The middle one is going to be something more for a regular homeowner, basically let them know you'd like to get in contact with about their home. The last chance will probably be more for a foreclosure or tax delinquent because hey, this is your last chance before you possibly lose your house. You don't really want to tell them that, but that kind of gets some action to go. And depending on the list is going to depend on the piece of mail you're using. So just be careful when you're doing that. You don't want to send an urgent notice or a last chance to a probate or something of that's a little more time sensitive and more sensitive of a lead. So here's these will be more for probate. The red and white is pretty non-harsh, and it's notification basically saying, hey, interested in buying the property. You can also have that as a pre-recorded message on your probate number that they call back, and that way at the end of the day you can kind of give them some information. Hey, I buy houses. We specialize in stuff that are in states or probates. If you still need to have the probate finished, we can still handle that and help you out with that. So you can get a little more detail with that. The other one is, stop, don't list it. Because a lot of people, the first thing is to list it with their agent. Yeah, they can possibly get more money with an agent, but that doesn't always mean it's the better route, depending on what the situation is. We can typically come pretty close to what an agent will sell the house for, but also offer them a guaranteed sale. They can go back to wherever state they're in, trying to get the estate settled and not have to worry about having a problem. So it's more of a guaranteed sale than something that the agent's going to list the house and hope for a sale. So going into my business, this is how my business is set up. It runs very efficient. We were able to do the 43 transactions in a little over $3 million in real estate in 2018. There's myself, there's my wife, I have an office manager, and I also have a guy who does, basically he's a VA because he's not here in Florida with me, but he does all the follow-up leads that come in and all the leads that come in over the weekend. So me and my wife create the list. She gets it all to the mail house. The mail house gets it out. The phone rings at the office. The manager answers it, processes the lead, and then from that point, she figures out where it's going to go. If this is a dead lead, if they want to be removed from the list, or if it's going to be a follow-up for me to get back on the phone with them and get some more information on the property. And then from there, I'm going to either push it to my follow-up guy as a follow-up lead that's going to be, maybe 30 to 90 days out, or do research on the lead to see if it's going to make sense for us to go out to the property and see it. And then on the follow-up guy, he actually does all of the follow-ups that are in the back end of the business, which are a huge part of the business, what a lot of people forget about. So for him, he'll process the leads as we're going. He gets notifications on as what stage they are and where he needs to follow up with them, and then he'll schedule them to be pushed to me when they're ready to figure out if it's ready for the appointment or not. And then from there, our goal is to get the contract. Once I get the contract, then our next goal is are we going to wholesale it, or are we going to hotel it, or what are we going to do with it? Maybe we're going to rehab it. I primarily don't like to rehab, so I usually either wholesale or hotel the property. I usually like to sell to the investor off market because it's a little faster process. Depending on the house, if it doesn't need a lot of work and it's just more or less clean up, I'll throw it on the MLS and sell it to the MLS world. But I primarily like to sell off market to investors. Most of my guys have been with me for years and continue to work with me because I always provide a real wholesale transaction to them. At the same time, I'm still building my cash buyers list just to have extra buyers. There's a lot of guys contacting me now because they have heard people are getting good deals from me, or they see that I've been doing deals and they're actually wholesale transactions. Because I get a lot of emails. I seen one the other day, and they want this thing's a shack, and they wanted $100,000, and they're saying it's worth $200,000, but I can't see it being worth $130,000 myself. So there's a big difference on who you're going to work with, and if you're buying properties and you don't make money with that wholesaler, you're not going to want to do much business with them anymore. So most of my guys have been with me well over 5 years for the most part, and some have been longer. So most of my guys don't want to go anywhere else for deals because they're break-even deals or losing money because they didn't do their homework enough, where I did pretty much do the homework, and I'm usually not too far off on my numbers on the retail side and on the rehab side. Usually I can walk in a property and tell from my experience, how much the rehab is going to be within $1,000 or $2,000 up or down. And I'm usually no more than, unless some crazy bizarre thing happens in the middle of the rehab, no more than $1,000 or $2,000 over on budget, but pretty much we're right there at the budget that we have, just because I know what the materials cost, I know what labor should be, and from that point I can know, you're going to have, say, $12,000 in material and $16,000 in labor over the next 30 days. So it's not that hard once you learn how to once you figure all that out and move from there and move on. It's really not that hard. It's just understanding what materials cost and figuring out what labor is going to be and shopping the labor around. So,
you were going to Home Depot and the different distributors to actually pull prices on items and what actual cost was, and talking with different contractors. That's how you learned all that stuff, correct?
From that, and also from doing rehabs myself. And then when I shifted out of doing the majority of the rehabs, because I'm able to make enough spread on wholesales that I don't really need the rehab. If I can make 20 or 30 on a wholesale and make 30 or 40 on a rehab, I'd much rather wholesale the property, just because I'm in and out. I can meet more people with it, more sellers. I can meet more buyers, and at the same time, I'm able to have more freedom than sitting there babysitting the rehab the whole time. So I started the rehab business because of the knowledge I had, and what came of that is that these buyers are telling me that the rehab's gonna be $40,000 or $50,000 when it really was a $20,000 or $30,000 rehab. So I pretty much said, hey, I'll do this property for you for $30,000 and show you that it can be done for this. And pretty much I'll put my money where my mouth is, and if you like it, we'll move on from there. If you don't, you can do your own rehabs. So pretty much it's turned into almost you've heard of the turnkey rental business, and I pretty much have turned into a turnkey flip business. Depending on the level of the investor, either they're going to hold it for a rental or they're going to flip it. If they're an agent, then typically they'll list it on their own. But if not, then I'll wholesale the property to them. I'll make a fee for managing the rehab, and then my wife will list the property and sell it for them. So depending if they're a complete newbie, it's a great package because they can get a property the wholesale price, they can get the rehab done for wholesale price, and also then they get a discount on the listing. And from that point, we've made money on the property 3 times, but they have a completed package where they know that they're secure on the whole product. So
I was just trying to
not a lot of people are doing that, I don't think. So I pretty much call it a turnkey flip business for a lot of people, where turnkey wholesale was a huge thing back, a few years ago.
I was just trying to think of a way to tell new investors to learn rehab numbers, which I know that we're going to go over in a little bit, and what your walkthrough sheet is on what material costs.
So for the most part, depending on the house, but I would say any house between 1,800 to 2,000 square feet, anywhere from $11,000 to $14,000 is a pretty good budget for your materials if that's the whole entire house on the inside. That's not including like a roof or an AC and anything like that. But if you're replacing the showers, the flooring, kitchens, bathroom vanities, tile floors or wood floors, or whatever you're doing, new slab doors, light fixtures, and so forth, anywhere between, I think, $10,000 to $14,000, you're pretty much safe, depending on how much it really needs. Like if you're saving a shower here in the vanity, then give or take a little bit, but I would say most bathrooms should be around between $1,800 to $2,500, depending on how extravagant the bathroom is and how much upper end material you have to buy. But I'd say pretty comfortable level is $10,000 to $14,000 for your material costs, and the rest is going to be labor. So, and then the labor is going to depend on who you talk to and who you have working for you, because that's going to be the hardest part, is making sure that the labor prices are staying in line. The purchase price of the materials, even if you don't get a discount, you kind of already can go and price all those out, and maybe you do a couple walkthroughs between Lowe's and Home Depot and see what the prices are, and that way you can build up your, I got to buy 2 vanities, I got to buy shower for 2 tiles, two bathroom showers and tile. I typically use laminate or PVC flooring through the main part of the house and shower tile, the same shower on the walls on the floor. So, I pay roughly $1,800 to $2,000 for 2 bathrooms to be done with showers and floors, and that's for labor, and then the rest is my material cost. So it's basically $1,000 per shower or per bathroom for labor, and then you got your vanity and your tile and so forth. So typically anywhere between $1,500 to $1,600, maybe $1,800 if you want a little nicer tile, is your material cost, and a vanity is typically between $300 to $500, and then a toilet's typically $100. So anywhere between $1,800 to $2,400 is pretty comparable for a bathroom. You can always go higher, that way you always have room for error. And then kitchens, typically roughly $2,000 for cabinets, $2,000 for granite, and $2,000 for appliances. So you can always figure out $6,500 to have a little room, and that way your kitchen's covered. And then flooring for the house, typically I get the PVC flooring for just under $2, and then roughly about $1.50 for install. So if you walk a couple houses, you can pretty much calculate them all out and get a pretty good ballpark. Door slabs, if you're only doing the door slabs, you don't have to do the casing. I believe slabs are like $30 a piece, maybe another $30 to $35 to install. So $8 to $80 a door to be safe, and if you're only doing slabs. If you're doing the full casing, the doors, maybe $100 to $125 with labor. So if that will help, down the road for someone to do it. And all it is, measuring out and then taking the square foot out for each, how much. Some people can get flooring done for $1 a foot, but my average floor cost is $1.50. So how the process starts and where the money's made and how the money's not lost is, the postcard is going to generate the lead from the list. From the postcard going out, we're going to capture the lead when they call in, and then we're going to have to qualify the lead, set the appointment to get, to go out to see the property, and then our biggest end goal is to get the contract signed. So in between the captured lead and the qualified lead, you have the lead response, and the processing. So that's going to be a big thing. I primarily don't want my leads going to voicemail. I want you to be taking those live, or I want to have someone taking those live for me so I don't lose leads. Now remember, they're chasing me to sell me their house potentially. I don't want to chase them, trying to get them to let it go to voicemail and then me following them, calling them back to try and track them down. So I always try and make sure the calls are taken live, and either myself or my secretary will take care of that. And then once we qualify the lead, when the lead comes in, now the follow-up and the nurturing comes. Some leads are not going to be ready today, and they're going to take 30 to 90 days. We've had them take a couple of years, and we still get the deal, but that's because of the follow-up. So in between the qualified lead and the appointment, some leads are going to take 3 to 6 months on average to nurture these leads to get them ready to come to where they're going to let you come out to the house, or they're not ready today. And that way, in that same time period, you're going to nurture and build rapport with these sellers so they're comfortable with when your time to come out to the house. The most important part of the process is for me is, for everyone is the bottleneck part, which is not doing the follow-up. From not doing the follow-up, I can tell you, you probably are losing a minimum of 50% of your leads and your revenue, just from not having the follow-up part. That's the most important and most crucial part of everyone's entire business. I don't care what business you're in. It could be any type of business. It could be your lawn business. It could be your painting business. It could be a gym business. If you're not following up with the people that have called in, you're losing those people. So with the CRM that we have available, which is all free, if you reach out to us, we can make sure that you have all this stuff so it's not lost for you. It'll send out Google Calendar invites or schedule the appointments on the Google Calendars. It'll send you the reminders to your email saying, hey, it's now time to call Nancy. She's ready to sell. It's been 3 months. So if you don't have these in place, you're kind of hurting yourself. I don't know what kind of business you have. It doesn't have to be this. Ours is primarily for real estate investing, but it can be any type of CRM for any type of business, because if you're not following up with these follow-ups, you're losing money in every business you're in. Obviously, if they're calling you to do business and they're transact with you and you don't follow up with them, you just lost whatever money. On average, our transactions are on the wholesale side are a minimum $8,000. If I'm not having this follow-up process in play, how many of those are we losing all the time? So follow-up and negotiations are going to be your most important part of the business, because I believe back in November we had a lead that took 4 years and we finally closed the lead, and that was from consistent follow-up. So it doesn't always have where you send the postcard, capture the lead, get the phone call, set the appointment, get the contract. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. So these other steps in between are a big part of the business, and the most important part is the follow-up part. And if you don't follow up, you're losing a lot of money. I mean, it's a pretty simple setup, pretty simple process, as long as you input the data as you needed and tell the system what to do, because most people are not going to remember to do this in 3 to 6 months, saying, hey, I got to call Nancy back because she's ready to sell. But when you have the system in there and you're spoken on the phone with Nancy, then you go into your system and say, trigger this button to notify me in 3 months that Nancy might be interested in selling, so I can call her back. And then all of a sudden in 3 months, you wake up to a notification that morning and say, hey, today's the day we've got to call Nancy back.
And the great thing is it keeps all your notes there, which we're actually going to show you a couple of, if you go forward, I believe it's 3 slides, Paul, it'll be the CRM system.
Yeah.
It actually will keep your notes and populate to your Google Calendar. So if you do have a VA or an admin that is setting appointments for you, it will populate over to your Google Calendar with that address in it. So you can actually pull the directions straight from there, as well as notes that have been had. If Nancy just celebrated her 50th wedding anniversary, those notes are all there to make the call a little bit warmer, and you're not trying to keep up with your random sticky notes from calls, if you're anything like me, that are everywhere. A lot of this is getting organized, and if you set the processes up now when your business is small, it's easier to grow. So if you can get in the habit of answering the calls, taking your notes down, I'm always going to be a pen and paper note taker, and I think Paul is too, but we make sure that we go and take those pen and paper notes and put them into the CRM system. And our system actually talks with our phone system, which is CallRail, and it'll dump in call recordings or voicemail so that all that information is in one condensed place. The system that we use is Podio, and it's a version of Podio where they have an app that you can easily use, so you can edit things on the go, pull up notes on the go, and it's very easy to use, and he's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Well, the nice part is also if you're driving, you take a call, you can trigger the call to be recorded, so you don't have to worry about driving and taking notes. You can sit there and have a normal conversation, and when you're done and you get parked, you can go back and listen to your call and take the notes then, and then input the system. Also, if you miss the call or if you have to have them go to voicemail, that voicemail will be attached to the lead, and then from that point, you can go back and listen to the voicemail and then trigger all the other pieces that need to happen. So obviously, you see the map here. So what you're going to have come in is you're going to have the seller's phone number right here, and then it's going to go here, and then I'll have another spot on the next line that I'll show you in a minute where it's the time and date that call came in. So I know if they called at 9:30 on Monday morning, I want to make sure I can, without one or another. The most important part is to call the seller back. If you're not calling back within 10 to 20 minutes, you're in big trouble because they probably already called someone else and forgot who you were. So, but on the CRM, once you plug in the property address, it pulls up the Google Map and pulls up the Google Street View. As long as you don't have a gated community, the Street View will come up and you can kind of already see the picture of the house. Sometimes they're not brand new, but usually they're within the past few years, and you can kind of get an idea of the property. So that's the nice part about it. And the best part is once you set it, you can forget about it and not have to worry about it until it's ready to touch base on that. And also in here, you're going to go through, the motivation of the seller. Was it a hot lead, warm lead, or cold? The next one is going to be the stage of the lead. Where are you at? And this one I have is offer negotiations. And then the next action is going to be, what are we doing next to the seller? So obviously I took the lead call. We made the offer on the property. And now we're waiting we got to reply back to the seller to send the lead. So depending on what stage you're at, depending on what you're doing, these two are going to be crucial, especially if you have a team. That way they know where you're at, or say maybe they did all the information and you're trying to follow up on the status of your leads that are going out, because these leads are costing money. Where am I at with, say, where'd Catherine leave off with Nancy? Well, now Catherine put in here that she left it with offer negotiations, and we got to reply back to the seller. Or maybe Nancy said, hey, I'm not ready, follow up with me in 3 months. So now we got to put in here, let's follow up in 3 months. And we're also going to put in there in the task section that will show us where it'll push a calendar invite or an email out to you, depending on which one you want, that it's going to say, hey, in 3 months, Nancy's ready to have you call her.
Yeah. Some other really amazing things that this system does is if you plan for it to be integrated and integrate it, you can actually have it when you move it to a stage of offer accepted plan as to wholesale. You can have it populate onto your OnCare websites. You can also link it up to have your DocuSign send contracts and receive contracts all inside of this system, so it's in one place.
Yeah, that's the more advanced system. But if you get to that point, that's a great thing, because I can tell you now, I love it when I'm out of town and I can just send a contract over and receive the contract without having to run over to the house or figuring someone to go over to the house, and then I can send it straight to the title company. Or if I have the property already under contract and I'm trying to get a buyer for it, I can just send the assignment over and have it all done through the system, and it automatically dumps back into the system, so it's all in one spot, which is a great thing. So also, once you start going in here and you know a little bit about technology, you can actually set up some other parameters where you can have it to where it pushes out to your buyers list through MailChimp, and then you click a button and it'll push it to MailChimp. MailChimp will send out the email template, and then your buyers list gets it. Or, also in here you can say you're ready for your disposition side, which would be the person's going to market your property to sell. Hey, I got the property under contract now. Catherine's trying to go sell it. Or maybe Mark is your acquisitions guy, which is going to be the guy going out and making the offers, saying, hey, here's your appointment, set this up, and here's all your stuff all for your next appointment, and that's going to go to your acquisitions guy. So once you have the system, you can do a lot with it. You can always add on and build to it. But for the most part, it's pretty much done for you in the beginning. As you grow your team or even grow your business, then you can grow the CRM as well. But all the free stuff you'll take your calls, incoming calls, push the leads, recordings, push the voicemail. It'll do the Google Map. It'll do the Street View. It'll do your appointments. It'll do your tasks. And pretty much everything. The most important part of the business in the beginning is the great part.
Yeah, and the advanced version even has automated text replies and text engagement, as well as email engagement with sellers on when leads come in and you flag it a certain way, it automatically texts them pre-written text messages, which is a really great, it's just very interactive and it's very user-friendly. I also modified this platform to where it makes sense for my loan originator and mortgage side of stuff. So it's very easy. I know that Paul's wife modified her version for her traditional listing as well. So you can easily make this work for exactly what your business needs in different platforms and organizations.
And the nice part is you can actually just create a new workspace in there, so you don't have to have multiple logins and stuff. You just have multiple, technically, business inside the business box. So this also shows the Google Maps. This right here says Monday, February 25th at 9:35 a.m. This caller called in. There's the property address, and then there's the map of the location. So it pretty much tracks everything, and it does everything for you as long as you tell it what to do in the beginning.
Yeah.
So we can get into some wholesale deals.
Do you want
What's
to go
that?
into the contract? We skipped over the
Oh yeah, hold on.
contracts and the rehab sheet. So these are two of the contracts. One on the left-hand side is our purchase contract. So that is what we would use to go talk to the seller. It is a smaller 3-page contract with a signature page that is a more condensed version of the FAR bar as is. I'm not sure if you have ever tried to explain the FAR bar as is to a seller or anybody really. It's very lengthy. It's like 13 pages and it's not very well understood because it is all legal jargon. So this is a more condensed version. Before you use any contract, whether it's something like this or something that you pulled off of another website or seminar, make sure you're taking it to a local real estate attorney and having them review it. Make sure that there aren't any loopholes or guidelines going on in your state that you need to know about, or your county, things like that. I would also recommend, just for your well-being, if you can find a local real estate attorney that will handle wholesale transactions and or double close depending on your state, you can send them the business, and then you also have a real estate attorney. If you are using a title company, then and there's a problem or there's something going on, they're going to still tell you that you have to call a real estate attorney. Is a new real estate attorney going to answer your phone while they're on vacation? Probably not. But if you've been sending your deals to close with them, they may be more likely to help you out and answer any of the questions and get that product to closing. And it's only like maybe $100, $200 more expensive to use that real estate attorney opposed to a title company. So those would be some things that I would highly recommend doing, is finding one of those and putting them in your database.
Another thing also on here, you really want to be careful on what paperwork you're using, because one of our students this morning said he co-wholesaled a deal with a guy, and they got to the closing, or almost to the closing, and next thing you know, the wholesaler he was working with didn't have, I guess would be a legitimate contract for him to cover himself, because it could have cost him an extra $1,200 because the seller had an assessment that was due that he wasn't aware of, where in my contract, if you have something like that, you are covered because it says in there that the seller has to cover that type of stuff. Typically, I only have the seller cover doc stamps and proration of taxes, but from experience, I've had issues come up where, there's some paperwork that has to be filed to rectify the liens, or have to do extra documents to cure title. So I don't want to have to cover those expenses if that's not my problem. Now, depending on the deal, I have done it, but I don't want to be the one that's stuck doing it. So if you don't have that in your paperwork, it could cost you thousands of dollars. It cost them $1,200 on that one transaction, and it wasn't even that big of a transaction. So I believe they're splitting it, which is an extra $600. That if he had the right paperwork, my student had the right paperwork, but he was co-hosting with another guy, and he didn't have his correct paperwork. So that cost them both an extra $600. So it's really important to make sure you're using paperwork that covers you and the seller, but also, covers you, so you don't get an unexpected fee at the end of the deal. Then it's like, oh man, I didn't realize that was coming up, and it could be $3,000, $4,000. So that's a very important part. Also, you want to make sure that the paperwork is done up so it's an assignable contract, where the contract actually gives you the right to sign the property, or you have to sign it as buyer as third dimension properties and or assignments. So that way you are fully covered, but with having the actual signability clause, which is at the bottom, the yellow, it makes sure that I have the right to assign it. It pretty much tells the seller that I have the right to assign it. It even goes in there and saying that if I really wanted to, I could stick a for sale sign or for rent sign in the front yard, and they're okay with it. So I'm very discreet on very outgoing on making sure that they understand that this is a possibility, and that way there's nothing hidden. And then my assignment contract is important too, because there's all different parts of that. And also in there, I always try and make sure, so if my contract is set to close on, say, what's April calendar?
30th, Thursday.
April 30th. I want to make sure that my contract to my assignment buyer, his contract's going to expire by the 23rd. So I have a week's time to market this property. If he's going to bail, I want the property back. So if they don't close by the 23rd, the property automatically gets reverted back to me without any paperwork, without any addendum, anything in there. It's disclosed in the assignment. They lose their deposit. And from that point, the property goes back to my possession, and I don't have to go in and sign any more paperwork. and then I still have a week to find another buyer, which I don't like doing, but you still want to make sure you're covered, and you also want to make sure the seller's covered. That's the most important part, is do what you say with the seller, make sure that they're protected and they get the job done. Because a lot of wholesalers out here now, especially with changing markets, they're going to have a lot more problems trying to get properties done, which is just going to make it harder for us that are really trying to do the business properly, correctly, harder to do, because you have all these people that don't know what they're doing, just locking up a property and can't sell it. So there's a lot of parts that you want to make sure you're doing ethically, and that way you stay out of trouble. Down in the green, it says on number 6, it says the assignee must close this underlying transaction by the date at 3 p.m. So at 3:30, if that deal doesn't close, or they're sitting at the closing table, come the next day, the property is yours, and you just start marketing it that night at 5 o'clock. That way you can get your buyer lined up. So you want to make sure all your stuff is understood. And with my paperwork, it's pretty easy to understand. You don't need a legal degree to understand it. To where if you had the FAR bar, you might have a little more protection, but you really don't need the protection with the contract that we provide when you become a student. And from that point, you can understand it yourself and then be able to explain it to the seller. Good luck trying to explain a 13-page contract when most people can't understand it themselves.
I'm a realtor and I've tried to do that. A few other things that I want to point out on the assignment contract that we use, it actually has a line where you can reflect the realtor commission on the HUD, which is something that not a lot of wholesalers, investors, people are doing, and it just makes it the transaction more transparent. So you're not trying
to say. The nice part about it is if you don't have that, you have to go sign an addendum. If the agent brings your buyer, now I have to do a separate addendum with Catherine saying, hey, I'm going to pay you at closing, to where she can get the property, have the assignment, have her buyer sign it. She sees she's getting paid, and that goes straight to the title company. So the title company's in the loop in the beginning, and there's no questions. It's not where you're going to try and shaft an agent out of their commission, because look, the agent's going to have the highest paying cash buyers, and you want to work with as many agents as you can and get them to understand that what you're doing is legal, ethical, and that they're having better options for their buyers than just off the MLS. So, I'd rather have one document going to the title company with all of us in the same loop, instead of having our document and a side document with Catherine, and then another document going to Catherine's agent or a broker. And that way, there's no hidden stuff. It's all out in the open. The title company knows immediately as soon as the seller's contract comes in and the assignment buyer comes in that, oh, there's an agent. Okay, so how do I get a hold of the agent? It's already built to the assignment contract. Their name, who they work for, and their phone number. So there's no hidden fees they're going to end up losing.
A few other things that I'd like to point out is our contracts all say on or before for closing dates. That allows you the specific date that you need for it to be legal and binding, but it also gives you the opportunity to fluctuate a little bit if the buyer does need to move more quickly. However, you're not sure that you have the time frame where the lender is going to come through. That'll give you that flexibility without going back and having a few addendums. And one other tip that I would like to give everybody is if you can schedule the closing, especially if the house is vacant, on like a Wednesday, that gives you 2 days to clear up stuff with title ahead of closing and 2 days after, to where you're not trying to crunch and get things done in either a Monday or a Friday, when most title and closing agents are super busy, because that's when people who are trying to move back and forth and move houses want to close. So I would try to schedule if you can. And there are going to be times when you can't do that, but on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, where it gives you time ahead of the closing and post-closing if there are additional things that need to be tied up and finished.
It's very important to look at the calendar before you sign the actual contract for when it's due to close. I've had some people that didn't do that, and next thing you know, they're trying to close on Saturday and no one can close. So.
Or somebody tried to close on Thanksgiving. I'm like, really? How did you miss that one?
So it's important to pay attention to that. Read these documents, and they're not hard to understand, and they're very simple. I mean, the purchase contract's 3 pages, but pretty much 2 pages of information to read, and then the second is just a little bit of paperwork on the time frame to close, and then the third one is just your signature page, or fourth one is just signature page. And the assignment contract is just one front page, and then the second page is just the signatures. So it's very simple and easy to understand, where it's not rocket science to make it happen. So if you come in to be one of our students, we kind of go over all this with you. We walk you through it. We also get you all the paperwork that we use in our current business. it's already gone through most attorneys. If you're out of the state of Florida, then I'd probably definitely recommend to go talk to an attorney, make sure if he has any changes for your state. But all in the state of Florida, you know, pretty much I've never heard of a county having any issues of this. I originally had an attorney create these for me, and he used based it on the FAR bar as is and shrunk it down to what we can understand and go from there. So now we're going to skip forward and go into some wholesale transactions that we've done. I got our good white screen. Oh, let's hit the repair sheet. So this is just a simple repair sheet that we go over. At the top, it says the address. Down below, or in the second line, it says beds, bath. Is it frame or block? Square foot, garage, and does it have a pool or not? And then on the outside, it's going to have landscape, foundation, roof, so forth. And to the left column is just a low line, which I use roughly as a ballpark number for rehab. And the line to the right is, you know, the description of what I'm going to do on that repair. And then the in the middle, it goes on the inside, and then it's going to have the same thing. The little line that says drywall repair, paint, floors, cabinets, and on the right side it's going to have the layout of how much I'm actually spending to do or the description of the repairs that are going to happen. So it's nice to have that as you're walking around the property, kind of put your numbers on there. As you know, and get more properties, you'll get better at your numbers. And it's better to be a little high, but not too high, because if you're too high, then you're not going to get the deal accepted, because you're going to think, you know, a $30,000 rehab is going to cost you 40, and it could cost you 32. So, but I've also seen it to where someone says the $40,000 rehab and it's only a $25,000 rehab. So just the better you know your numbers, the better off you are, and the more deals you're able to get, because you're going to have more realistic numbers. So if you're trying to say the house needs another $15,000 in rehab, guess what? That's your potential profit or more. So that's going to push you out of the league if someone else came behind you with knowing their numbers to be able to make the offer get accepted.
Yeah, and the only way that you really get to know your numbers, if you're not actually going out there and slinging a hammer and doing rehabs yourself, is to go, like we talked about earlier, walk Home Depot, walk Lowe's, call contractors. Hey, are you open to working with investors? How quickly can you come walk a property with me and get me a rough number of a bid on what it's going to cost? If you can build a good relationship with the contractors, I have some that will call it. I can ask them any question. Like I was looking at a historic home that had very steep stairs, and he was like, nope, if you start doing any of that, it's got to come up to code. So it's like you just build those relationships, and it's all about being transparent. If you see a contractor working, stop and talk to them, especially if it looks like a full gut job rehab. See what they're doing and what that person's plans are. Are they an investor, or are they just making this their end home? And if they're an investor, add them to your cash buyers list. So we have another whole video about how to find buyers and do that. So make sure that you're shopping and talking to those contractors, because they can be a really great resource for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the nice part about, you know, if you come in as a student and want to learn the business, or maybe you're starting the business, and, you know, we have some that are brand new, and we have some that are intermediate. They've been trying to do it for a while and they can't. And we have some that have gone to other platforms and spent quite a bit of money and still can't get to doing their first deal. So we have them all over the place. The nice part is you always have us here as the backbone to help you walk through the properties, get to know the numbers. Also, you know, how to talk to the contractors, how to talk to the sellers, how to talk to the buyers, how to make the offer, instead of, you know, reaching out to some other state to figure out how to do real estate in Florida, or, you know, vice versa, or you're talking to someone state, maybe never even done a transaction, which happens a lot with some of these coaches that you run into. So that's a very important part of, you know, has that coach that you're working with ever done a deal? Because if they haven't, how are they going to know how to offer the thing? They're just going to be reading off a manual that, you know, who knows if they even know what they're talking about. So here's some of the wholesale deals that we have done over the last probably 3 to 6 months. I haven't updated the new ones yet, but these are over the last 3 to 6 months. Pretty simple transactions. There are a few that are creative financing that we've wholesaled off, or even taken down with creative financing and then resold off through the MLS. So this one here is in right by my house in my office. This one was a little tricky. The house, we contracted for $75,000. The lady that lived there had a bunch of kids that were not so well, and some were in jails at the time that we had to have the attorney go and sign paperwork. From that point, we locked the property up, I want to say in February. It took about 4 months because there was a bankruptcy from her ex-husband who passed away that he somehow tied the house to. So she kind of lost the rights to the house, but then we helped her get it back. And from that point, we did the probate. We had to we had to get the probate fixed for her. We had to get her back on the deed, and then we had to get her kids all in line to sign off on the documents. And then the lawyer even had to go to the jail to get one document signed to be able to for one of the kids. But at the end of the day, this is a nice property. This property is worth, if you took out the house, so this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage, 1,300 square foot house. Also has a separate buildable lot with a 400 square foot block structure. So at the end of the day, if you took just the house is worth at least 185 to 190. And then you have the 400 square foot efficiency that is great for Airbnb or even rent it out just to maybe a mother-in-law suite or whatever you wanted. And the lot without the building, without the power and everything is worth at least $35,000. So at the end of the day, this house is worth at least $210 to $215 the way it sits. You probably will have a hard time comping it, but what I did is I just took the actual house, separated the lot. Here's what the house is worth. From that point, what is the land worth? The land worth $30,000 to $40,000. So at the end of the day, you take the two together. If you're going to sell the lot, you could have technically separated the lot from the house, kept the lot, and then sold the lot on the MLS for $35,000 to $40,000 all day long. But my investor that I work with a lot, he bought this from me for $95,000. Because we put the contract on for $75,000. I assigned to him for $20,000. I also brought this came from a bird dog referral, so I paid him $5,000 of that, and I made $15,000 on the deal for a lead that came in for free. He made $5,000. He still sends me deals now because he made a quick $5,000 with all he did was, someone gave him the lead. So this is one of them. This is actually the nice part about this one is he's going to hold this as a long-term rental for the 3-1 side, and then he's going to Airbnb the small side. And it is about a block and a half to the public boat ramp, or I'm sorry, the community boat ramp that has a private key, and also the community ferry that brings you over to your private beach. So it'll work great for a rental and for a seasonal rental. So that's why he's going to keep this. Plus, at the end of the day, he bought it for less than 50 cents on the dollar, and he probably will put about $35,000 to $40,000 in this house. And he's not going to do the floors because they're all terrazzo, so there's no point in doing the floors. So he's really doing a roof, AC, some drywall, and windows and doors on the one house. And then the smaller one is small. It's 400 square foot, so that's really not much. So if he's over $40,000 budget, I'll be shocked. This one right here, I sold this one to the same investor. This was my longest contract I actually held, and it wasn't because I couldn't sell the deal. It was because I was waiting for the seller to finally move out. So I contracted this house in January, and I kind of forced him to move out because he didn't want to just move on in December. So it was almost a full year that I had the contract held for. But he'd call me every other month, every 2 months, making sure I'm still interested in the property. I had the buyer lined up after 2 weeks of having the property and was ready to go, but we needed him ready to go. So basically, we contracted this one for $210,000. I signed it for $15,000. I managed the rehab for him and made $2,500 on that. He was going to sell this, and I kept trying to tell him this is a great location to put it on Airbnb. It's a half mile to the beach. And he did put it on the market for about 3 days, and all of a sudden I get a weird phone call asking if he knew I could buy furniture. And basically, he put it on Airbnb at like 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and he already had reservations Saturday morning. And he's scrambling to try and get furniture to furnish the house for the people coming in. So he got it done. He gave the people 1 night free stay because it was about 8 o'clock by the time he had everything done, but it worked out for his favor. He still holds it as Airbnb, and he gets roughly $179 a night. And before the COVID-19, he was at about 25 days a month occupancy all year long. So he's actually kept this long term and is loving the Airbnb. I tried to get him to do Airbnb for probably about 6 to 8 months, and he just was resistant. And finally, he did this one unexpectedly, and he loves it. Now he has I think I've sold him 4 more since then. So he loves it now. This one right here, this one came from referral. This I have a contract for $232,000. I signed it for $15,000. We're now doing the rehab on it. We should be done hopefully by tomorrow. We did have some hiccups on this one with some permitting issues, but we're pretty much right at the finish line That big tree is now gone. There's now a palm tree in place, and all new landscaping. Exterior has been redone. They're finishing up the shutters on the outside right now and a bunch of little just punch out lists, and the pool is now blue. But other than that, the whole entire has been done. We're about $32,000 budget minus the extra permitting cost. So that's not our fault. It just happens. At the end of the day, it cost about $5,000 for what happened, but there's nothing we could have done to prevent it because the house was secured, and I'm not sure how it happened, but the county got an anonymous phone call and came out and flagged the house. So, but other than that, the house should be done by tomorrow. Probably be on the market in the next week once they get done staging and all the pieces done, and then that should sell pretty well because it's a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath in a private boating community down in the south part of Sarasota by multi-million-dollar homes. So, I believe this one will be listed for about $365, but it doesn't look anywhere near that right now. This one, so this one I bought on subject 2, which is basically taking over the existing financing that's in place. So what happened was I contracted it for $220,000, and the seller owed $198 on the loan. So the way I worked it was I took over his existing financing. We closed on it. I assigned it to my investor for $20,000. He had a $35,000 rehab on the property. And the crazy part is I never targeted this property. I targeted a property in Venice. They decided that this house was too much for them to do for upkeep. It was too big for them anyways. There's only 2 of them living there, and they're older. And they wanted to fix up the house in Venice. And if I fixed the house up in Venice for them at their expense, then they would also they would sell me this house in Sarasota. So it was a win-win for both them and us because they couldn't fix up this house and they couldn't fix up the house in Venice to move to be able to sell this house. So basically we went in there, fixed up the house, put them in the Venice house, then we closed on this house. And from that point forward, we had 1 year to get the house fixed up and resold. So the nice part is the investor didn't have to come out of pocket the whole $220,000 to purchase. And also because we fixed up the house, the seller waited to collect his $20,000 from the sale until we were done. So that turned into the buyer only has to come out of pocket roughly about $65,000 with assigning closing costs and the rehab costs. And that way he controlled a $350,000 asset for roughly about $65,000. Also, I worked in there to where the investor got the first month free, and with the first month free, gave the investor 30-day head start on the first payment. So the nice part is the interest rate was about 5.75 a month compared to hard money with 2 to 3 points and also 12%. So the investor got in very cheap on the front side. He was able to make a nice profit on the back end, and it was a win-win for everyone. We made 20, we walked away, we made a little bit of money on the rehab in Venice. The seller got the house problem taken away and sold, and then they got in the house that they needed to move into. So it was a win-win for all 3 parties.
And this investor actually became one of our students, right?
Nope, not this one.
Oh, sorry.
This one. That one's not on here. So this one right here was originally going to be a wholesale deal, and what happened was he was a snowbird. So once again, this would have been an absentee owner list that you probably wouldn't have got, but this is on the high equity list because he paid cash for it. So he bought the house to live in it as a snowbird. He lived in Maine, and 2 doors down was a neighbor that he trusted to watch over the property for him. So they had keys. All of a sudden, the neighbor put her granddaughter in the house so she didn't have to live with her, and they decided that they're just going to automatically pay him $500 a month on rent. Well, he got fed up with it. The county kept notifying him saying, hey, your water's delinquent. We're going to put a lien on your property. He's dealing with a sick kid in Maine that's got pneumonia in a lung. Well, we tried getting into the property, couldn't see it. The tenant wouldn't let us in. The tenant didn't want us to buy because she knew she was going to be kicked out. So the only way I was able to get the deal to where I felt comfortable, because it all depends on how you're going to feel comfortable if you're taking on the property, is I told the seller, I said, I'll give you $500 down. I'll give you $350 a month for 10 years at 5% interest. So basically it turned out to $350 a month. And then at first he's like, well, I'm getting $500 for rent. I said, well, you're getting $500 for rent, but you have no insurance on the property. You're paying your property taxes and any other maintenance, right? And he goes, yep. I said, so you're really not getting $500 a month, because right now you have no insurance on it. You have high risk. You have a tenant in there with a pit bull, so if the dog bites when you're getting sued, and then you're paying your property taxes. So you're really only maybe getting $300 to $325. I said, so at $350, you're getting more money, plus you're gonna have insurance, plus you're gonna have to worry about it, and it's gonna be done and not have to have any headaches or stress. I'll be the new owner, so if I don't pay the water bill, and it's gonna be my lien, not your lien. So that really worked into our favor because I couldn't get into the house, so that was the way I felt comfortable. It was a 2-1 block structure on a nice lot. But at the end of the day, for $500, how can you go wrong? So I mean, at closing, I came out of pocket $1,100 with closing costs and the down payment. So for $1,100, I controlled this property. So I was going to keep it as a rental. Decided I didn't want to keep it as a rental. We listed in the MLS for $80,000. Within 48 hours, we had a $78,000 cash offer. So we basically turned around and made $33,500 on this deal. I only put $7,000 in the property. I basically painted the outside, painted the inside, put a new window unit in, painted the kitchen cabinets, and did a walk-in or the tub surround for tile. We did that, and we updated the electrical panel. Other than that, we didn't touch it. So with payments and the repairs, we were right around $7,000, and we held it for like 4 months, 5 months. It was really more of a game on figuring out what to do and what exit strategy we wanted to have to go with it. So this can be a lot of fun if you make it fun. I'll do these all day long, especially with creative financing. So, we basically turned $7,000 investment into $33,000 profit with very little money and no risk.
Yeah, and I believe if you guys want to learn more about creative financing, we do have a video on our YouTube channel, which it'll be at the end as well. But if not, then we'll be putting one out shortly, because that's going to become a really great tool that we can use in the next 6 to 18 months coming up as the economy and things start to shift a little bit.
Yep. So with that going on, I believe in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to have a lot more opportunity with creative financing. I'm still doing creative financing before, but it's a little harder because everyone cashed out. But as this whole market cycle changes and twists and turns, creative financing is going to become a lot more familiar and easier to do with people. So, which is a great thing for us. So this is a goal worksheet. From here, you basically fill out your goals. If you're interested in getting this, even if you don't want to become a student, we'll gladly send you this as a helpful tool, because basically this says, how do you profit, or how much gross profit do you expect in your business in the next 12 months? Kind of keeps you in line and in task. How many projects do you need to do? How many wholesales? How many retails? In order to keep as rentals to make your gross monthly profit for your income. And this kind of puts you on track to be able to do your financial goals, your business goals, and your personal goals, and keeps you on track and in line to make sure you're on track to hit your monthly goals that you need for income. This is PropStream. If anyone's interested in PropStream, we use it all the time. The nice part is if you have any problems on any products that we're telling, we don't mark any prices up. But if you have any problems, you can reach out to us, and we can get you in contact with the management, or with PropStream, I know personally. So if I have any problems with them, or you have glitches, reach out to me, and I can put you in contact with them, and we get the problem resolved pretty quickly. This does have a 7-day trial. And if you just type in trial.propstreampro.com/PPMP for my initials and Mark's initials, this will give you it'll put you into our account data, and that way you can get any help that you need with issues on PropStream, or I can get you personalized training if you needed to, or we can all get on a webinar and I can have Paul do a quick walkthrough, or if you want to learn how to find buyers or sellers, he'll gladly get on there and do a training for me with you. Or do you guys just put it together and do it? So he's done it for us in the past, and we'll do it here in the future.
If you're curious who Paul is one of the developers of PropStream. So the 7-day free trial gives you all access. You can pull lists out of it. If you want to skip trace, you do need to put in a credit card for that. I don't know exactly what the cost is for skip tracing, but you can do that. The other great thing about PropStream that I don't believe that we mentioned earlier is if you are using it to skip trace, it will only charge you for the leads that it actually pulls back information, where if you were to send it to another resource, like batch script tracing is one that I use, for like my return to senders and things like that that are larger lists, it still charges me if I send 50 names over and it only pulls back 45 names, it's charging me for all 50, where PropStream doesn't do that. So that's another great resource for you guys as well.
Yeah. So I use this in our business all the time. We're also using it for the skip tracing part of it all the time for our cold calling. So I can vouch for the data on this coming out of it. It's great data. The skip tracing, if you don't get results, in 100 results, then you only get 80. You're only paying for the 80 results, not paying for the whole 100 like some companies. Also, you're getting 3 numbers and emails if you want. But typically, you get the phone number. Not too many people are doing emails these days, but it's there if you need it. And you can do 1 or you can do 1,000 or more. So the nice part is it's a 7-day free trial. You can test everything out. The only thing that's not free is the skip tracing part, which I don't think any skip tracing is free these days. It's actually really good data. So once again, that the trial, it's trial.propstreampro.com/ppmp. So this is our YouTube channel. We're in the process of getting everyone to subscribe so we can hit 100, and then we can have the actual youtube.com/REI Live SRQ. But right now, if you just go into YouTube and type in REI Live SRQ, you'll be able to find our videos. I think we have about 25 to 30, and we're consistently putting out multiple videos a week on new content, new speakers, new tips and tricks that are actually working on other people's business. Some of it is more of an education with the accountants and the attorneys, and some of it is other investors that are giving information on what they're doing and how it's working for their business. So
yeah,
once again, that's YouTube, and then just search REI Live SRQ.
And turn on the bell so it notifies you. Like this upcoming week, we have an investor that is, I believe, 25, and he already has like 19 doors. So he's speaking. We have a
He also had $2 million in private money to do deals at 19.
Yes, we have a mortgage broker coming on that works with private money, hard money, conventional loans. He's actually my broker for my loan license. He'll be speaking this upcoming week. We've had one of the top performers in Florida speak on the mortgage sides. We have attorneys, our actual closing attorney that we use, as well as property management, anything that you can look for. We're working on putting that content out there. And if there's something that we haven't covered yet or put out there yet, just shoot us a quick message and we're happy to find the professional. If it's not something that we feel comfortable talking about and having them post, or if we can do it, then we're happy to get that recorded and put that up there. So definitely check back and turn on that bell and subscribe, share with your friends and family, and give us a thumbs up if you like what you're hearing. We would really appreciate it.
So once again, that's YouTube, and then search REI Live SRQ. These are on-Carrot websites. I use these in my business personally. So far, I haven't seen any websites that are comparable to them because the SEO is so strong. I have this just sitting on a couple different online platforms for buyers, and I get between 2 and 4 new buyers a week. The nice part is that the SEO is already done for you. You kind of plug and play your city, state, business name, and so forth, your phone number, just simple stuff. You can have these up and running in 20 to 30 minutes at most. If you really want to sit down and play with it, you can start doing more adding to the SEO content that's already on there to drive in more traffic. To me, I'm not fluid enough on that. So for me, I just kind of use what they got and it works great. So they're already pre-made templates that you have like 5 or 6 templates to choose from, and you can just keep going from there and work on building those out. So that website's a little long. It's going to be hard for me to read that one out, but I'll do my best. It's going to be az122.isrefer.com/go/main/REI Live/. And that way, if you have any problems or questions or need help, maybe it's something that you need help setting up. I've already set mine up, so I can probably walk you through setting that up. If you need help getting in the hold of someone at Carrot, they're a pretty big company now. And that way I can put you in contact with our personal rep. And they're the same prices through us as through them, but also because we are a member and we're promoting their products, we can help you get to the right person a little bit faster. Also, the nice part is they have investor side Carrot or investor on-site websites. and now they've converted over to agent websites, and they're always putting out new content every week on Facebook on different ways to help push your websites, promote your websites. They're doing challenges to help you get more leads coming in. I believe he's got data that shows he's one of the most searched websites online for bringing in leads. So if you don't have leads, you don't have a business. So really, leads are the most important part. So this will do buyer and seller, and also gives you a company page so you can show that you're a legitimate company online, which is a nice big feature for a lot of people. So at least say that you're a real person and who you are. So again, those are Investor Carrot websites. And these are our IQ classes. We have 2 to 3 classes a week. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook, get it Investor Quarters on Facebook. Or you can come over to REI Live SRQ on Facebook and like us there. If you missed one, just check back on the other YouTube page. It's REI Live SRQ. We're trying to get the content back up as fast as possible. Depending on the class and so forth, and how much video editing, it takes a little bit longer on some we're able to get the same day. But we're trying to get you guys as much content that's all free at this time right now, to where you can start taking this and turning action in place and starting getting deals coming in.
Yeah. So
Again, that's Investor Quarters on Facebook.
Yep, and I actually have 3 events that I need to post. So if you guys go in and say that you're interested, once again, feel free to share them. They're all free, and we have we have as many tickets as we can sell or to give away. So please feel free to invite your business partners or colleagues, people that you feel like would be interested in it. Give us a thumbs up though on both of those pages so that you are notified as we put out events. There's 2 to 3 every week. When we get back to doing in person, we're more than likely going to be live streaming them as well. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. It's a great way to grow your network, and everything is free and being brought to you. So.
And also, if you hear something you like on this, but it's just not for you, but someone that's getting, give them information. I'm pretty sure almost all of our students have started working on deals, or will be working on deals depending on when they joined, and a lot of our students have already made a couple $100,000 in just a few short months. So this is hands-on, full-blown coaching. We have multiple calls every week. We have meetups together. We have our monthly meetings for everyone. So we're a lot more hands-on than most people are, which is a good thing for everyone to become successful, because by yourself, this is not an easy business to get through. And you can do it on your own, but it's going to take you probably 3 to 4 times longer than it is to hire a mentor. So normally, we would have REI Live once a month at the Carlisle. So once we get back to normal times, we will still have it. We have the contract until 2022 lined in. At the end of the day, we're not allowed to have them, so we've been hosting them on virtual meetups, virtual GoToMeeting monthly. But when we come back live, we will be at the Carlisle Inn in Sarasota. So come on out and see us when we get back. And if not, until then, we will have them on virtual meetings. So last month we had Edwin Kelly going over IRAs and 401ks. Who do we have coming up this month?
It's not even this month. So the great thing about us being virtual is we can actually come to you more often than once a month. So we have Christina Kraus on the 30th. She's an unbelievable entrepreneur and investor. She's a powerhouse. So she not only has bought her first rental property, I believe that's 23, and has grown a business. She's actually grown 2 other businesses inside of that, including virtual assistance training, which Paul's top cold caller actually came from her training program. So she's definitely somebody that you want to listen to. She's got tips that she's going to be talking about how you can adapt your business to become more virtual with everything that is going on. Once again, you can find all of these REI Live events, even when they do go back to being in person. You can still find them on our Facebook pages. So if you give those 2 pages a thumbs up, we're posting those events out there. Make sure that you say that you're interested, but actually go through the process and get your ticket through Eventbrite so that I can actually email you the individualized link for each of these meetings. It's a really great opportunity to get involved. We have a REI real estate investing group that we're using right now to network, since networking isn't the way that we've done it in the past. That group is going to be facebook.com/groups/REI Live SRQ. If you're looking for something, if you are carpenter or a landscaper and you want to build business, put that all in there. There's a ton of local real estate investors inside of that group that we're happy to interact, to connect you with and help your business grow. That's the whole the point behind REI Live is more collaboration, not competition. So we love sharing and educating and connecting the right people with each other. And the last slide, I believe.
This is just our contact information if you want to go over it.
Yeah, so Paul's Instagram is Paul's Deals. He's on Facebook at Paul Provinger, Southwest Florida. Our YouTube channel is up there as well as our Facebook page. Mine is Catherine Blazer Realtor is my Facebook, and Catherine Blazer is on Instagram. So definitely go check us out. Check out our stories. We're putting things up every day. If you would like to know more, or you want to kind of see more houses or things like that, just let us know. We're happy to put things out there and be interactive. Mine had baking stuff on it last night, so there's always puppy pictures. I don't know if he's come through the camera on this one, but there's things like that out there. So we're real people. We're doing the business here local at the beach, but we're happy to help you wherever you're at.
Yep, I hope everyone gets some out of this, and if you want to reach out to us, then maybe get on a quick phone call and discuss a little bit more, and maybe help you out and get you to doing some more deals or how to find some deals. So
definitely
hope
reach
everyone
out
has a great day
on one of the platforms, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you.